A new flavor for your ear. Epic Spotlight. Putting the spotlight on positive goings on the real people that have chosen a real path. The who's, the whys, and the hows are being shared and given to you.
And we're back. We got another one. Before we get going, we have to take care of some housekeeping notes. This episode today is sponsored by Epic Mortgage. Whether you're buying, investing, or refinancing, call Epic today. That's 708-905-5300. That's 708-905-5300. It's your dreams, your goals. Let's plan together. Now on with the show. Today we have Shawn Nelson, the visionary founder and CEO of the Lovesack Company, a brand known for its innovative modular couches and iconic beanbag chairs. Shawn is also the author of Let Me Save You 25 Years, Mistakes, Miracles, and Lessons from the Lovesack Story, where he shares the hard-earned wisdom and remarkable journey behind building a beloved global brand. He holds a BA in Mandarin Chinese from the University of Utah and a master's degree in strategic design and management from Parsons, the New School for Design in New York City, where he later returned as an instructor, sharing his expertise with the next generation of designers and entrepreneurs. From bootstrapping his company out of the garage to leading it to the New York Stock Exchange, Shawn's story is one of resilience, creativity, and bold innovation. Welcome, Shawn.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Hey, thanks for coming on. Hey, I wanted to start off, the Lovesack started in the parents' basement. Is that correct? And then all the way to the stock exchange. Just what was your goal? I mean, what was your purpose of even starting?
I wish I had one. I was 18 years old. I was 10 days out of high school, watching The Price is Right, bored out of my mind, eating a bowl of Captain Crunch, I think. And I just had a dumb idea. Like how funny would it be to make a beanbag, that big, like me to the TV, the whole floor. And got off the couch, drove down to Joann's Fabrics, bought, some vinyl, some pleather, and cut it out like a baseball, 2 figure eights, sewed them up, jammed my mom's sewing machine. My neighbor actually finished sewing it, put a zipper in it. And then I began stuffing it, beanbag beads from Michael's, couldn't possibly find enough. So packing peanuts, old blankets, chopped up. But I found my parents' camping mattresses, like yellow foam with a bungee cord around them. And that was cool. That was like squishy and soft and had a very different outcome. And after 3 weeks of chopping up mostly, camping mattresses, we had the first Lovesack. It wasn't called a Lovesack. It was just this giant beanbag. And we threw it in the back of a truck, took it camping, took it driving movies. And everywhere we took it, everybody wants one. So eventually convinced me to start making them.
Some businesses start off as like a hobby and then they turn into something else more. When did you know you had something?
Look, I think it would be 3 years actually before my neighbor finally convinced me to make them one. But every time I took this thing out anywhere, it would just be like the center of attention. Like, oh my gosh, where did you get that thing? Filled the back of a truck, take it camping, take it to the drive-in movies. And that was, as good as any consumer research we do today. Right.
Sure.
I think that, that stuck with us. And today, fast forward, Lovesack, it did 700 million in sales last year, growing toward $1 billion. We have 300 locations around the country. We sell mostly couches. You might've seen them on TV, online, these clever sectionals that you can arrange and rearrange and reconfigure and recover and wash in the washing machine, all these things. But even today, as we invent product, we really try to deliver things that are remarkable, as we call it. And what I mean by that, just like our name, people walk by our stores every day and, start singing Love Shack, or they make a dirty joke to their friend, but they're saying something, they're remarking. And they said something from the first sack. And today, making things remark-able is what we say. So much so that it can elicit a remark. That's the test of something really different, something really good, is can it elicit a remark from someone, even audibly? And that's a high bar, but it's one that served us well.
That's awesome. It's reminds me of like brand awareness. You're making something that people are going to always remember whether they're talking by the store or just if someone has one in their home. As far as Lovesack, you have it seemed to embrace a design for life philosophy. Can you share just more about that and why it's important to you and the community?
Yeah. For years and years, we were just trying to survive like any startup business, right? And it's all in my book, the whole story. And I try to be really transparent. I read every business book I can. And I feel like I tried to do something a little bit different and be really honest about some of the highs and lows. And for years, we were just surviving, making sacks, couches, eventually trying to make enough money to pay the rent, make payroll, grow, invest in new products, new stores. And we broke even for a long time or worse, lost money for a long time and had to raise money, all these things. But somewhere along the way, just trying to solve these problems, just trying to survive, we made a couch that could be shipped, FedEx, delivered to your door, which we were really proud of. And in the process of doing that, made a couch that could evolve and change with you, grow. Pieces can be added years later even. Covers can be changed. I'm sitting right now on a Sactionals piece that's 18 years old. It's wearing its 10th set of covers. It's married to brand new pieces. You can adapt and change and rearrange forever. And by observing why people loved our products and why this couch was selling so well, it's probably the best selling sectional in the United States of America. We uncovered this, what we call designed for life philosophy, which is we will make things that are built to last a lifetime, but more importantly, designed to evolve with you as your life changes. Because even if you make really good stuff, if it can't be on trend, if it can't change with the times, if it can't grow with you, shrink with you, change with you, move with you, then you're going to leave it behind, whatever it is, not just couches. And so this philosophy, it's like we had the chicken before we had the egg. But this egg called Design for Life can now birth all kinds of new products and ideas around the home and otherwise, because most of the stuff in our life was built to expire, often intentionally, right? Look at the phone in your pocket. That's not a game. That's not a conspiracy theory. That's a fact. At this point, we all know it. And we just like lambs to the slaughter, accept it, buy the next one, propel them to be the biggest company in the world because, we don't really have a better choice. But you and I could both imagine what a Design for Life version of that same thing might kind of be, or at least maybe get a decade out of it. And they will never do that because they're on this hamster wheel and they'll enjoy that hamster wheel. And we are going to be a brand that is in opposition to all things engineered for failure, to all things, as they say, it's not, this whole way of designing today rooted in planned obsolescence. It's not a conspiracy theory either. These are long held patterns, not just, stuff made to break, but stuff made to go out of style. And so that we have to change. We have to buy the next thing. And Lovesack is trying to build a brand that's in overt opposition to all of that.
Where does that mindset come from? It's very simple for you to just duplicate and, multiplicity. Where are you coming to be different?
Because I think we all know it to be true. I think we all know it to be a bunch of crap. I think we all know it to be bad for the environment, bad for the world, bad for your pocketbook, bad for your family, bad for your health. But we just sort of don't have another choice because almost all industry has been captured through that vehicle of some form of planned obsolescence, to the point where now these competing firms, are essentially outdoing each other in making things so feature rich, we don't even need them to do all the things they do. And instead, we'd prefer them to just do the thing they were meant to do better. We can just know this. And so this reality that we find ourselves in 2025 creates the opportunity for Lovesack to come in as a disruptor and make things the old-fashioned way, and in a lot of ways better, because we have this point of view on design. But I guess to answer your question, where does this come from? It comes from a motivation to seek truth and beauty and goodness and be honest with it. And along the way, pursue the capitalistic goals of growth and profits. And they don't have to be in opposition. But, it's funny. Like, if you really look at what we're doing, there will be fewer couches sold on earth because we mess with couches. Now, we'll sell tons. We're already the number one selling sectional in the United States of America by the numbers right now. So we're proving this is possible. But make no mistake, there will be fewer couches sold. And at some point, so many people will have our products theoretically that will have to invent some other things to compete, to grow. That's what Apple should have been forced to do. But instead, we just allow them to manipulate us the way they manipulate us. And not just Apple, all the companies that do this.
Sure.
And so it's a different way of doing business. It will be competitive. It is competitive. We're proving that in real time, in the real world. This is not I'm not a philosopher. I'm not a professor. I'm a practitioner. I'm a CEO of a public company. And the bigger goal beyond us doing it and exploiting it and becoming super wealthy and successful by doing it is actually it's our stated purpose at Lovesack, to inspire humankind to buy better stuff so they can buy less stuff. And ironically, we'll grow huge doing it. But those categories will actually be shrunken, as opposed to every book behind me that promotes growing the category, creating new ways to make money. And it's about grow. And so we'll grow, but we'll shrink the pie. And it's a strange outcome. It's a strange way to think. And at this point, where does that motivation come from? I think it's super interesting. I think it's an interesting way to build a brand. I think it's an interesting way to live my life. I think it's a really fun challenge, and I want to spend the rest of my life doing it if it takes that long.
No, that's great. I mean, I guess, I was coming from the idea of like, obviously you're self-employed. Were your parents self-employed? Were they instilling these kind of rules, to kind of codes to live by? Or is this just really just you and living life?
No, I mean, my parents were self-employed. My mom was a ballet teacher in our studio at home, where I eventually cut out Lovesacks once she retired. My dad was a real estate broker, actually. And they owned some little apartments that were kind of crappy that had to be maintained. I was taught to work. I started, painting walls and pulling up carpet and changing water heaters when I was 12 years old. And I did have a strong work ethic, and I hope to instill that in my own kids. At the same time, though, look, like I said, for a decade or two, we were just surviving. We were just trying to make money selling big bean bags and clever couches. But it was really when I enrolled in Parsons. I was in my late 30s. I didn't need a degree. Wasn't looking for a job. Lovesack had 60 stores. But I put myself back in school to seek a master's degree from the top design school in the country in New York City. And I was exposed to all kinds of great books. Design for the Real World by Papank from 1970, Natural Capitalism, Conscious Capitalism, books that espouse a different way of thinking about materials, a different way of thinking about sustainability, a different way of thinking about design. And it really got me thinking, because we were kind of onto something already. We had something that was working. And if we just leaned into it further and took it beyond just making clever couches that did a bunch of cool things, but really committing to it as a philosophy, not only could we have a way to compete that's different than everyone else, but we could make a difference. And so at this point, again, beyond even just growing the company really big and selling tons of product to shrink those categories, we're trying to drive a movement. We're trying to get people to think differently, because we've all just been lulled to sleep, man. Right now, if you're not paying attention, jeans are baggy again. Jeans were baggy when I started this company. I was wearing the baggiest jeans around. And now my kids think they're so clever and think that I'm so old and out of date if I'm wearing skinny jeans that are comfortable because they got Lycra in them. And we all wish we could just keep wearing them because they feel good. But if you refuse to succumb to these trends, your children will shame you, or the youth of the generation will, one way or another, shame you into succumbing to baggier jeans or just looking old. And that is planned obsolescence at work. And it is evil, and it is wrong. And it will cause us all to give away or discard too many clothes that never needed to be discarded in the first place, because we've been conned into thinking this way. And I think it's evil. I think it's wrong. I think it's stupid. I think it's embarrassing. I think it's gross. I think it's bad for the environment, bad for everyone. And so in my own weird little couch and other things that will come way, I want to fight against it. And I want to encourage people to think about what they buy. And look, you don't have to be a miser. I'm not anti-capitalist. I'm a capitalist. I'm the CEO of a public company that's growing like crazy. But I think people, if they wake up, could presumably start to think about buying better stuff, like our stuff and other stuff, buying better stuff so they can buy less stuff, which is a weird thing for a company that makes stuff to say, but that's what I'm passionate about. I've become passionate about it over all these years. And now it's like a challenge to see, like, can we do this? Can we actually change the way people think? I think we can. I think people will welcome it. I think already many of the movements that are happening in sustainability and conscious living, all these things are working in our favor. But the thing is that world is so broken because they're trying to guilt you into behaving differently. Where I'm trying to say, look, this is better for you. This is a better way to live. It'll save you money. And by the way, the money can go elsewhere. You could go take another vacation, go do something cooler than buy more crap that you've been guilted into buying because you think you're out of date or something like that when it's all a lie. And it's just, its sole purpose, man, is to get you to buy more crap.
No, it's well said. So what, as far as sustainability goes, what are some of the things that you guys are doing within your business that allows that adaptation, let's just say, for your couches in people's, lives and in their homes?
Well, first of all, I love this idea of sustainability, but it's been, bastardized by so much greenwashing and misuse. Let's go back even further to the business. You asked about the business. I don't get the chance to do what I'm describing unless I build a sustainable business that can make money, make profits, grow, employ people successfully at scale, right? So sustainability starts there. I don't get the chance to think this philosophically unless I can first, show up, meet that basic bar of making money and growing and making my investors happy. So that's a big piece of sustainability. You can't affect the world unless you can be sustainable yourself. And I mean that on a corporate level as well as an individual level. You can't help anybody unless you're, up a rung yourself somehow. Next, we say it out loud. That's why I'm on this podcast. That's why I'm vocal about this stuff. I want my customers to take me to task when our products don't live up to it. So, you have to understand what you believe in and you have to preach what you believe in because that's what will commit you to living to it. And then you have to live it. So for instance, we make all of our fabric out of recycled plastic bottles, all of our upholstery fabric. We recycle, I think, more plastic bottles than all the shoe companies and t-shirt companies combined. The only companies that outstrip us for Repreve anyway, plastic bottles, that's a major brand in the recycling fabric space, are to my understanding, Nike and Walmart and Amazon. That's good company to be in for a little company called Lovesack. So, but by the way, you probably didn't know that about Lovesack because we don't put it in our advertising because frankly, that's what people misunderstand as sustainability. It's a little piece of it and we believe in it. We do it. And it's cool. We've recycled hundreds of millions of plastic bottles, diverted them from the landfill, put them into furniture that you're going to keep for decades, not just end up in the landfill again, like so many things, by the way, that are making themselves out of recycled plastic bottles. So we're really proud of that. But now get beyond that. And it's designing products with the express idea that they can be built to last. So really good materials, wood screws. No one in furniture even uses wood screws anymore because it's faster to slap them together with staples and glue and whatever. We're still using wood screw construction, hardwood frames, hardwood plywood, like really good stuff at the base level. So it's built to last, but then can evolve with you. How can it evolve? Wash the covers, change the covers, rearrange it, add to it, grow it. We just launched a recliner. You can I use that reclining piece, Shawn, with the Sactionals I bought 15 years ago? What do you think? Of course you can. It's designed for future compatibility, reverse compatibility. No one does that in any category. Your appliances, your mobile phone. The closest thing is maybe, I drive old Broncos. That's my daily is an old Bronco, Ford Bronco. Why? I could build one in my driveway. They make every part to the cigarette lighter for that thing. That's the closest thing to a design for life solution. I'm really proud of that. The steel in that frame doesn't have to be smelted again. It's not in the landfill because it was a good design to begin with. And it can evolve with me. I can lift it, jack it up, change it, grow it, customize it, so that's the closest thing.
So you practice what you preach.
I try.
That's awesome.
And I'm not perfect, but that's the goal.
You spoke on scaling, and obviously from I'm a business owner, and obviously a lot of business owners listen to this. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced when trying to scale Lovesack? What were some of those challenges, and kind of how did you overcome that?
Every challenge, man. I mean, Lovesack never should have existed. Lovesack should have failed 100 times. I probably wanted to quit 100 times. I mean, it's hard. I mean, we started a giant beanbag business out of my parents' basement using a foam shredder in the back room of this dumb furniture factory that just let us use it because they thought we were funny. We're a bunch of kids. We faced every challenge, that a business faces. We never had enough money. We never had employees. When I finally got one employee, he cut the tip of his finger off doing the dangerous business of shredding foam. And then I had to deal with OSHA and workers' comp insurance that I didn't have. We learned these things. And I tried to be really honest about all of these types of things in my book. Let me save you 25 years, right? And that's why the subtitle is Mistakes, Miracles, and Lessons Along the Way from the Lovesack Story. And I'm really honest about all these sorts of things and the lessons that I learned. So these 25 mistakes and whatnot paired with 25 lessons. So we opened the book with just do something. I got off the couch and made a big beanbag. I didn't talk about it. I did it, right? But that's an attitude. That's not in the beginning. That's every day to this day. You have a good idea for your business. You want to try something. You have a weird tagline. Go do it. Go put it up. Go buy the billboard. Give her a rip. I'm not just saying we do everything we think of, but you got to follow your instincts. And chapter 2, do the next thing. I didn't have workers' comp insurance. Well, how do I get it? I don't know. Let's Google it. Let's figure it out. Let's ask the question. Let's do the next thing. We faced every problem, man. Manufacturing, hiring, scaling, retail, product defects, importing, overseas. I'm wrestling with tariffs. Fast forward to 2025. That affects my business big time. I got 2,000 employees. I have 400 containers of product on the water right now. 400 containers. If I impact one of those containers on your driveway, it would bleed out into the street, stacked 8 feet high. I got 400 of those moving at any given moment. You talk about problems. I got nothing but problems, but I got, 400 people at the headquarters also wrestling with all these problems, from graphic design to competition to knockoffs to trademarks to lawsuits over patents to tariffs, importing, retail, people touching each other in the back room. I mean, whatever, you got 300 stores in 50 states, all kinds of crazy things will happen.
Sure.
And you wrestle with every problem, but you just do the next thing. And I'm not some rocket scientist. I'm some 18-year-old that made a big beanbag. And so if I can do it, who can't?
I like that. Your book, like you said, is called Let Me Save You 25 Years. What is the biggest lesson you hope readers take away from it?
That anything is possible. Lovesack will be, as we state in our goals, our mission, not our purpose. I told you our mission, to build the most loved brand in America. We'll be on the board with Nike, Lulu, Tesla, take your pick, Prada. We'll be on that board. We're not taken seriously that way, but we will. But look at where we started, right? But you have to have the fortitude to go the distance. I'm 26 years in. It's taken my entire life. And look, if I would have been smarter, if I would have made some decisions differently that I share in the book, I could have done it faster. Admittedly, that's why I wrote the book. That's what it's called. Let Me Save You 25 Years. Like, you don't have to make every mistake. You can choose to learn from mine. You'll have to make some of your own, but you can choose to learn from others. You can read more books. You can be humble enough to seek out mentors. You can network better. You can listen to podcasts like this one, like mine, my podcast. I've got the biggest guests in the world, Gary Vaynerchuk, Mark Cuban, Gronkowski, talking about the keys to success through these Shawnisms. I don't just interview them. I parachute in on one topic with each guest, and we go deep on these. These are some of the most successful people in the world that you have access to for free. It costs nothing. I didn't have that when I started. You should be devouring podcasts, devouring books, and so I feel like, and that's me. I'm an insatiable learner myself, but I try to also share and give back through this medium, including this conversation. And I feel very blessed and very lucky for it. But if I'm not proof that anything is possible, and even your biggest dreams, as wild as they may sound, but the key is the last Shawnism in the book, chapter 25 of 25. You have to maintain your top ambition. Like, what's your top ambition? Like, not just like, oh, I'm going to sell a bunch of stuff. I'm going to get to 2 million next year. I'm going to get to 20 million next year. No, that's like just money. Go bigger. Like I said, Lovesacks is to build the most loved brand in America, more than any other brand, not home brand, not couch brand. It may take me another 20 years, but that last Shawnism in the book is maintain your top ambition with infinite patience. And that's the harder part. Do you have the patience? And they're like, patience? That sounds like complacency. That sounds like you're kicking back, waiting for it to. No, I can't rush it. Right now, I'm in the middle of a huge retraction in furniture. 3 years now. 3 years, it's almost a recession. Why? Because everyone bought furniture during COVID. My industry sucks right now. Now, Lovesack's doing better than most. Still profitable, still making money, still growing, still launching new products, but it's hard. I'll go another 3 if I have to. Eventually, this industry will turn around. Your industry, terrible housing market in many respects.
Sure.
Do you have the stomach? Because you can't force it right now. Now, I'm not telling you to sit still. I'm not telling you to be complacent. I'm telling you to be patient. Don't put all your best moves out right now because no one's listening. It's not the time. But are you boning up? Are you reading the books? Are you getting ready for the oncoming unleashing? When all these people who want out of their homes are ready for a new mortgage and somehow, some way, interest rates find their way down. That's what you should be doing right now. Besides, of course, keeping the lights on and striving. But some people don't have the patience. It's easier to just like, I'm going to do it. It looks easy. I've never gone to a business networking event where I didn't meet the person across from me. By the way, my business is going on toward $1 billion in sales. I got 2,000 employees. Every time I meet someone like you, I'm like, dude, I should do what you're doing. That sounds way better. We go to these networking events, feel bad about ourselves because everyone else, but everyone's putting their best foot forward. Everybody's got the worst problems. Everybody's got problems they're not telling you about because you're supposed to show up and put your best foot forward. You're supposed to look confident under pressure. But can you maintain those top ambitions with the patience to see it through? That's the best part about getting to 25 years. I'll go 25 more. Didn't kill me. And once you make a decision like that, then everything gets easier. Because, I don't have to make it happen this year. I just have to get by. I just have to make it work. I have to do good enough. And that
thriving or surviving. No, that's
patience
good.
has served me well because there will come a time when it's going to rip again. But if I'm not ready, Lovesack never ran out of stock during COVID. All my competitors did because we were ready, because we had a business built on great fundamentals about low SKU count and shipping and all these other things, redundant manufacturing that we had put together over the long, hard years. So when it was time to rip, we were ready to rip. That's what I'm talking about when I talk about patience. It's not waiting around, but it's aligning your best moves and being ready when it's time to rip because those times will come.
I'm curious about your role just in the business. As time has gone on, you've evolved, obviously. How have you kind of maintained grounded nature, just dealing with the business and really hands-on? And how have you kind of floated up to dealing with more board of directors and talking to, all that type of stuff?
Yeah, look, we are a public company on NASDAQ. Our ticker is LOVE, and I'm super proud of that. I spend a lot of time now interfacing with public investors, board of directors, all kinds of stuff that I had to, again, learn along the way. I didn't know any of that stuff. The first stock I ever owned was Lovesack stock. And now, I traffic in it. One of the keys is to stay plugged into the front lines of your business. In my case, it's those stores. I work in the stores. I meet the people. I talk to them. I DM with them on Instagram. I DM with my customers. You could slide in my DMs today. You'll get a response from me with my thumbs. And that's how I stay grounded. I know what's going on. I know what people think about our products. I know what they don't like. I know when we fail and we don't deliver and they find me and hunt me down and send me feedback. And I forward it to my team and they help me deal with it. But I'm aware. I'm not out of touch because I stay plugged in to the very front lines of your business. Not afraid to talk to customers who are critical. Not afraid to pick up the phone and check in even though you don't want to because it's like, oh, the last interaction sucked. Stay plugged into the front lines of your business. Stay grounded in that way. Even as your own role elevates, I have people that run my company better than me. Executives from Walmart and Nike and L'Oreal, the best companies in the world that I get to afford. I didn't always have that, but I always had people, and I had good people. And you're continually leveling up. You're continually demanding more. You're continually being insatiable. Meanwhile, you level up your own position. So you're dealing with the things that only someone like a founder or someone with your skills, like I deal a lot with product because I'm a really creative problem solver. I've got teams of engineers and designers, and I don't push them around. They're better than me. They're smarter than me, but I'm involved. And I solve some of our hardest problems with them because I'm good at that. But I stay out of other people's business. In the early years when I did hire people older than me back then, smarter than me, if I'm being honest, I was too egotistical to let them really do their job. I call it hire better than you and let them own it And in the realms where I'm good at a lot of things. That's the problem with being an entrepreneur. You're good at a lot of things. That's why you got you there. You can do marketing and mortgages. You can do all kinds of things, right? But there are people better than you at most of those things. But if you're too egotistical, you won't actually turn them loose to let them make decisions alone and let them be, learning that, by the way they would have done, the way they're doing it may not be the way that you like, may not be the same colors you'd pick, may not be the same taglines you'd pick. But as long as you don't think they suck, let them do it. Because by the way, what I discovered is that their way works too. And even though I would have done it differently, completely differently, their way worked too. In fact, their way turns out works really freaking good. And now Lovesack has been the fastest growing furniture retailer in the United States because I got out of their way eventually. I got over my own ego. I stopped having to approve everything. I stopped having to be involved with everything. And I let the pros be the pros. And if they couldn't hang, then they had to go. And then I had to get a different pro. But you let the designers do the designing. Get out of their flipping way because you're not a designer.
I love your honesty. I mean, you're just being candid because a lot of times, if we have successes, we think it's our ego. We did it, and it could have been other issues or other things that, really made our success. And you have to empower people. And I'm a big person in believing in entrepreneurs. People, I want them to really treat it like it's their own business. And that's where you see employees really soar when they believe it's theirs.
The most demotivating thing for the kind of people that you want is lack of autonomy. Like, forget the pay. I mean, that has to be there, obviously. And I don't know, snacks or ping pong tables, whatever. Who cares? People want to feel like they're autonomous, because fundamental to who we are as humans is our agency. And when that's cramped, when that's stepped on, when that's depleted, it's just demotivating. It's humiliating. And the best kind of people will not abide it, will not thrive. So if you mean what you say, then you really have to empower people and give them the credit, give them all the credit. By the way, I'm on this podcast. I'm talking to the Wall Street Journal. I'm getting articles written. I'll get credit for everything anyway. Give away all the credit, all of it that you possibly can. Even if you did invent something, blame it on someone else in the company, because they had a hand in it too, probably. And it took me decades to learn this stuff. And I'm still catching myself. I'm still trying to get better at these things. That's why I'm saying them out loud. Because if I say them out loud, then I'm a hypocrite if I don't. It's confirmation bias used against myself.
I'm going to be intrigued to read the second book after 50 years, which is all that you've learned. But hey, as we get this wrapped up, I wanted to know, if you could share, are there any upcoming innovations or projects that you're working on right now as far as just, Lovesack?
Oh yeah. We're launching a brand new platform this week called EverCouch. Believe it or not, we wake up all these years later, best-selling sectional. We sell almost no couches, armchairs, or love seats, even though you can build sectionals into that. And my point is not to sell you couches on this podcast, but just recognize the fact that it's 20 years since we introduced sectionals, and we're finally getting around to another product line. That's the kind of focus that served us well. We've been the fastest growing furniture retailer in the United States, probably on earth, for the last decade or so, on and off every year. And we've grown from like number 99 to top 20 right now on two products, essentially sacks and sectionals. That is focus in the extreme. Now I'm proud that we're branching into couches now. And then we have other things that next year after that into whole new realms of the home. We've told people at our investor day that we're going to get into whole new rooms, all kinds of new stuff, all designed for life, like I've described. And I'm going to be really proud of these products as they come to market. But I'm really proud of this product. It's a design for life sofa solution that's different than sectionals, that has different benefits, but it's still designed for life. And I think the future of Lovesack is very bright, but still not easy. And we fight day to day for every sale we can get to bring people in this fold and ultimately convince them that they bought the best thing, because they did, whether they knew it or not. When they bought it, they'll discover it over time, when they have their sectionals 18 years later that they can add to and grow in ways that they couldn't foresee. I'm very proud of this business ethos. I'm very lucky to have it. We shouldn't even exist. We should have failed a long time ago. We almost did 100 times. And it's, again, all in the book. And I tried to be just as honest and transparent in the book and try and make it useful for you. That's the only reason I wrote Let Me Save You 25 Years. That's the only reason I do my podcast, Let Me Save You 25 Years, is because that information is there to be had. And I feel it's important to share.
I think a bed is coming. I think the Sactional bed is coming because that makes so much sense. You already have something that people want to lay on. Might as well just lay on it for 8 to 10 hours. So that's my prediction.
But given enough time, I will do all the things. Given enough time, we will do all the things that matter to you. Because there is an opportunity to change the way people interact with their things. And I see it, and others won't do it. That's why I talk about it transparently. It's too hard, takes too long. It took more than $1 million and 80,000 man hours just to invent the Sactionals recliner so that it could work both deep ways and long ways. If you know Sactionals, you know what I'm talking about. And, it would have been cheaper and easier just to do 2 separate ones, a deep one and a long way. It would have been easier to do, just parts off the shelf. But we wanted one that could last for decades and really be changeable in that way. And we're really proud of it. That's why I'm so open about this, because we're doing things the harder way, but that's the brand we're going to build. So good guess. Easy to say yes, because we'll do all the things if we have enough time on this earth.
Fair enough. Shawn, thank you so much for coming with us on this journey and really enlightening us just on your whole journey. And I hope everyone that's listening to this checks out the book, Let Me Save You 25 Years, all the do's and don'ts. And it's definitely great for any business owner to learn. And Shawn, I want you to have an epic day.
Thanks. Thanks for having me.
The who's, the whys, and the hows are being shared and given to you.